You sit in rooms listening to people less intelligent than you confidently spout nonsense. You hear the wrong conclusion delivered with a straight face. You watch a bad plan get applauded. You correct them. You sharpen the logic. You show the data. You prove the point. You prove you're competent. You prove you're the smartest in the room. And then you watch the promotion go to the loudest idiot. The respect go to the most connected fraud, and the power go to the most insecure person with a title. You think your intelligence is your greatest asset. It is actually your greatest liability, because the moment you show your hand, you threaten the fragile egos of the insecure people who control your fate. And insecure leaders don't reward competence, they eliminate it. The most dangerous men in history never broadcast their power. They hid it behind a mask of incompetence. Today, you're going to learn Machiavelli's false fool strategy. Master this, and you will control every room you enter. Here's the dark psychology you were never taught in school. Hierarchies are not built on truth. They're built on perception. They're built on power dynamics. Who feels threatened? Who feels safe? Who feels superior? Who feels humiliated? And the fastest way to get targeted is to make an insecure person feel smaller than you. So let's answer the forbidden question you've been avoiding because it's humiliating. What if your desperate need to prove how smart you are is the exact flaw keeping you at the bottom of the hierarchy? What if the thing you call integrity is actually your ego begging to be seen? Because every time you correct them, you feed them a reason to destroy you. Every time you display brilliance, you paint a target on your chest. Every time you win a debate, you lose the war. In this video, you will learn a Machiavellian strategy that looks like weakness and functions like a trap. You will learn how to play the fool without becoming one. You will learn manipulation defense against insecure bosses, narcissistic colleagues, and social climbers who punish talent. You will learn why the 48 laws of power keeps repeating the same ugly truth. Do not outshine the master, and you will learn the exact moment to reveal your real capabilities so the room feels shock, not suspicion. If these ideas resonate with you, hit that subscribe button for more top-tier content. Also, drop a "hide your power" in the comments so I know you're ready. Let's dive in. Your ego is the only thing standing between you and absolute power. You think the hierarchy is judging you on merit. You think competence naturally rises. You think clarity will be rewarded. You think being right is a currency. But in real power dynamics, being right is often a threat. You don't get punished because you're wrong. You get punished because you make the wrong person feel wrong. And that's why your intelligence becomes a liability the moment you start using it to perform. You walk into a meeting and you can see the holes in the plan in 30 seconds. You can see the second-order consequences. You can see the risk. You can see the missed variable. You can see the hidden cost. And you can also see the social reality. The plan isn't being chosen because it's good. The plan is being chosen because it protects someone's status. So when you correct the plan publicly, you don't just correct the plan. You challenge a throne. And the throne doesn't debate you. The throne removes you. This is the part you need to accept without flinching. In dark psychology, you are not punished for lacking value. You are punished for revealing value in a way that destabilizes the room. You become difficult, you become arrogant, you become not a team player, you become condescending, you become too intense. Translation, you became a threat. And here is why it keeps happening to you. You are trying to win respect through display. You are trying to win safety through proof. You are trying to win belonging through superiority. That is an ego reflex. That is the intellectual's addiction. If they just see how smart I am, they'll finally treat me right. No. If they see how smart you are, the insecure ones will treat you like an enemy. An insecure boss will destroy a competent employee. Hide your competence. That sentence should not depress you. It should clarify you, because once you accept the rule, you stop bleeding into the same trap. You stop correcting for validation. You stop educating people who don't want truth. You stop volunteering brilliance as if brilliance is safe. You start acting like Machiavelli acted. You start treating rooms like courts. You start treating conversations like chess. You start treating praise like bait. And if you're thinking, so what do I do? Just become silent and let idiots run everything. Stay with me, because this is where most people misapply, play the fool, and end up actually being dismissed. But hiding your intelligence is harder than it sounds. If you do it wrong, you just look pathetic. Here is the nuance. You don't lose to smarter people. You lose to threatened people. This is why the smartest person in the room is often the most underpaid person in the room. This is why the most competent person is often the most controlled person. This is why the most insightful person becomes the most isolated person, because competence exposes mediocrity, and mediocrity has alliances. You are walking into environments full of silent agreements, agreements nobody says out loud. Don't embarrass me. Don't make me look foolish. Don't reveal what I don't know. Don't remind people why I'm not as good as I pretend. So you can be useful, just not visible. You can be valuable, just not superior. You can be smart, just not in a way that makes them feel dumb. This is why you keep getting betrayed by the hierarchy. You give them the solution and they give you the label. You give them the insight and they give someone else the credit. You give them the clarity and they give you the consequences of their shame. And it makes you angry because your mind keeps screaming, this isn't fair. It isn't. That's the point. Power dynamics aren't a classroom. They're a survival arena. So here is your validation, clean and cold. You were not too smart. You were too visible. You were not too intense. You were too honest in a dishonest system. You were not unlikable. You were threatening to insecure people who control the distribution of respect. And now your permission, you are allowed to stop proving yourself. You are allowed to stop correcting people who benefit from being wrong. You are allowed to stop auditioning for approval in a room that punishes excellence. You do not need their validation. You need their blind spots. Because blind spots are where leverage is born. And here's the line that will rewire your strategy if you let it. When you look weak, the predator drops their guard. That is when you strike. Not strike as in harm. Strike as in position yourself. Strike as in collect information. Strike as in secure your outcome while they're busy underestimating you. This is manipulation defense in its cleanest form. You stop giving insecure people a reason to attack you. Now, the room changes. When you stop challenging the king's ego, the king stops mobilizing the court against you. When you stop signaling superiority, the insecure stop feeling the need to punish you. When you stop making it about truth, you start making it about outcomes, and outcomes are where you win. But there's a deeper level to the false fool strategy, the part Machiavelli understood when he watched courts, princes, and predators up close. Machiavelli used this exact tactic to survive political storms. He learned that visibility is vulnerability and camouflage is longevity. He learned to observe the powerful without provoking them, to understand their motives without announcing his own, to conceal his wisdom until it could be used with maximum effect. So now we build your mask, not a mask of cowardice, a mask of predatory camouflage. The false fool is not a clown. The false fool is a blade in a velvet sheath. You stop performing intelligence. You start practicing intelligence. You stop trying to be recognized. You start trying to be unstoppable. Because the moment they think you are harmless, they hand you the keys to their destruction. Again, Destruction doesn't mean you harm them. Destruction means you dismantle their ability to control you. You dismantle their ability to block you. You dismantle their ability to predict you. You dismantle their narrative about you. You become invisible to their defenses. This is dark psychology. The predator relaxes when it thinks it has already won. The predator reveals its habits when it thinks it's unobserved. The predator confesses when it believes you're too naive to understand. So you become naive on purpose. You let them talk down to you. You let them over-explain. You let them feel superior. You let them believe they're teaching you. You let them believe you're slow. And while they're enjoying that feeling, you gather intelligence. You gather who hates who. You gather who needs credit. You gather who fears exposure. You gather who is threatened by talent. You gather who is loyal to power versus loyal to truth. You gather who will throw you under the bus. You gather what outcomes they care about. You gather what metrics they pretend to care about. You become a quiet collector of patterns. Machiavelli would call this the real currency, knowledge of motives. Because once you understand motives, you don't have to debate anyone. You simply root around them. But here's the nuance, because this is where play the fool becomes an art instead of a humiliation. You do not act stupid. You act unthreatening. You do not lower your standards internally. You lower your visibility externally. You do not sabotage your work. You sabotage their ability to see you coming. So what does that look like in the real world? It looks like fewer opinions. It looks like fewer corrections. It looks like fewer, statements. It looks like fewer public displays of brilliance. It looks like asking questions instead of delivering verdicts. It looks like giving other people the feeling of ownership while you retain control of the outcome. This is the 48 laws of power applied without the theatrics. You stop outshining, you start out positioning. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, this strategy is the only way to survive without triggering their rage, because narcissistic power dynamics run on humiliation. When you correct them, they feel humiliated. When they feel humiliated, they retaliate. When they retaliate, you waste energy defending your reality. So the false fool denies them the trigger. You become the person they can't justify attacking because you never challenge them openly. And then something insane starts happening. When you deploy the false fool, people will start telling you their darkest secrets. Here is why. Because everyone confesses to someone they don't fear. They confess to the nice one. They confess to the quiet one. They confess to the harmless one. They confess to the listener. And you, because you're intelligent, will hear the real map of the room. You will hear who is faking confidence. You will hear who is drowning. You will hear who is stealing credit. You will hear who is terrified of you. You will hear what the boss actually values. You will hear what the leader actually fears. You will hear where the bodies are buried, metaphorically, professionally, reputationally, and you don't gossip with it. You store it. You do not need their validation. You need their blind spots. But you still need tactical tools, concrete moves you can use in meetings, negotiations, and social games so you don't slip back into ego performance. There are 3 stupid questions you can ask in a meeting that will actually hand you control of the entire room. Listen closely. Your mouth has been your downfall because you used it to prove yourself. Now your mouth becomes your net. The false fool doesn't dominate by talking. The false fool dominates by directing attention. So here are 3 questions that make you look humble while they hand you power. First question, what does success look like here, specifically? You ask it with an innocent tone. You ask it like you're trying to understand. But what you're doing is forcing definitions. Because most bad plans survive on vagueness. When you ask specifically, you force accountability. You force metrics. You force timelines. You force ownership. And the moment people define success, you can build the path quietly and become the person who delivers it. Second question, what are we assuming is true that we haven't tested? Again, you ask it like you're curious. But you're doing dark psychology in daylight. You're making the room confront uncertainty without you attacking anyone's ego. You're not saying this is wrong. You're saying, what are we assuming? That's manipulation defense against fragile leaders. You remove the humiliation trigger. And while they debate assumptions, you see who is attached to being right, who is attached to looking smart, who's attached to protecting their pride. Power dynamics reveal themselves when pride is questioned. Third question, if this goes wrong, what will be the reason? Where does it break first? You ask it like you're cautious. You ask it like you're learning. But you're doing something lethal. You're pre-writing the post-mortem before the mistake happens. And now everyone's brain is forced into risk awareness, without you calling anyone stupid. These questions are stupid only to the ego. To strategy, they are scalpels. They cut through performance, they cut through politics, they cut through ambiguity. And when you repeatedly ask questions like these, you become the invisible architect of the room. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, not the most admired, the most influential. This is Machiavellian strategy in modern clothes. You move people while they think they're moving themselves. But there's still a danger you must understand, because hiding your power is a double-edged blade. If you hide your intelligence with bitterness, you leak contempt. If you hide your intelligence with sarcasm, you provoke hostility. If you hide your intelligence with fake humility, people smell the performance. So you need emotional discipline. You need to kill the impulse to correct. You need to kill the reflex to prove. You need to kill the pride that wants the room to know. The hardest part of this strategy is killing your own pride. Here is a psychological trick to make it easy. Every time your ego wants to speak, you ask yourself one question. Do I want to be admired, or do I want to win? Because admiration is a drug. And winning is a structure. Admiration is temporary. Winning is permanent. Admiration feels good today. Winning changes your life. And if you're thinking, but if I don't speak up, they'll never see me, you're still trapped in the child's fantasy. If they see me, they'll value me. Machiavelli would tell you, they value what they can't replace, and they respect what they can't control. So you don't chase being seen. You build leverage. But there is one more layer, because the false fool works only if you reveal your capabilities at the right time. Do not reveal your true capabilities until this exact moment. The false fool is a trap, and all traps require timing. If you reveal too early, they target you. If you reveal too late, you look irrelevant. If you reveal emotionally, you look arrogant. If you reveal strategically, you look inevitable. So here is the exact moment to reveal your true capabilities. You reveal when the outcome is already secured. Not when you have an idea, when you have traction. Not when you have potential, when you have proof. Not when you're trying to convince, when you're ready to deliver. This is the part most intellectuals get wrong. You try to win the argument first, then do the work. The false fool flips it. You do the work quietly, then let reality win the argument for you. Because reality is the only authority insecure people can't debate. So you move in silence. You document results privately. You build assets. You build skills. You build relationships slowly with people who have stable egos. You build credibility through consistency, not performance. And then, when the moment comes, when a decision is being made, when a role is opening, when a project is failing, when leadership is panicking, you step forward with the solution already built. You don't say, I told you so. You don't say, I'm smarter than you. You don't say, finally you're listening. You say, here's what we can do. Here's the timeline. Here's the risk. Here's the metric. Here's the plan. Calm, precise, unemotional. That's when the look changes. That's when the room realizes you weren't slow, you were silent. And when you finally execute this step, the look of shock on their faces will be worth every second of silence. Because shock is respect without negotiation. Now let's talk about what happens in their minds at that moment, because understanding their psychology is what keeps you from slipping back into ego. When they realize you are hiding power, their brain scrambles to rewrite you. They search their memory for clues. They re-evaluate every time they talk down to you. They realize they revealed themselves in front of you. And that creates fear. Not fear of you physically, fear of your awareness, fear that you saw them clearly, fear that you have leverage, fear that you can't be managed. This is why the smartest person in the room is the one pretending they know nothing, because pretending to know nothing isn't submission, it's camouflage. And camouflage gives you time. It gives you access, it gives you information, it gives you positioning, but there's one final trap you must avoid: becoming addicted to the mask. The false fool is not your identity, it is your posture in hostile rooms. You do not play the fool with honest allies. You do not hide your power from stable people who want you to win. You do not remain small to make mediocre people comfortable. You become strategically invisible to predators and strategically visible to opportunity. This is manipulation defense with standards. So now we complete the transformation from frustrated intellectual to hidden apex predator. You stop proving. You start positioning. You stop correcting. You start collecting. You stop shining. You start building. You stop being readable. You start being inevitable. And now you understand the final dark psychology of it all. The hierarchy doesn't reward the smartest. It rewards the safest threat. You become safe to underestimate. You become lethal in outcome. This is Machiavelli. This is Machiavellian strategy. This is the 48 laws of power without the cosplay. This is play the fool as a weapon. This is power dynamics mastered through restraint. And you are about to become the person they can't see coming. Now we close. You started as the intellectual who tried to prove your worth in every room. You were betrayed by systems that punish competence. You recognized the pattern. Your visibility triggers insecure retaliation. You felt the anger because you were right and still denied. You were validated. You were not imagining it. These are real power dynamics. You were given permission to stop performing your intelligence like a plea. You weaponized concealment through the false fool. And now you step into invincibility. You become the hidden apex predator. Calm, underestimated, and always positioned for checkmate. Let them think they are the master right up until the checkmate. Hide your power in the comments if you're done proving and ready to start winning with silence. Subscribe, because this is where sovereign minds train. This is where you learn dark psychology without becoming a villain. Machiavelli without the delusion. Machiavellian strategy that works in real rooms with real consequences. Manipulation defense that keeps you employed and respected, and power dynamics that stop you from being targeted for your talent. You are not here to be liked by insecure people. You are here to be ungovernable by them. To understand exactly how to detach instantly when the game is won, click the video on screen. See what others miss, know what others fear, become who others can't.